Ethan always saw the good in people. Growing up in a small town in North Carolina, he learned the value of kindness from his parents. Ethan as Ethan. As a child, I was the first to befriend the new kids at school. I would share my lunch with those who forgot theirs. But this kindness sometimes made him vulnerable. Other children would take advantage of his good nature. Despite these small betrayals, Ethan's spirit remained unbroken. Ethan as Ethan. As I grew into a young man, my kind heart only grew stronger. I volunteered at local shelters, helped elderly neighbors, and always had a smile for strangers. Little did I know that this same heart would soon be put to the ultimate test. The world had plans for me, plans that would challenge everything I believed in. Rachel was like a breath of fresh air in Ethan's life. They met during their freshman year of college. Her laughter was infectious, her smile radiant. Ethan fell hard and fast. For the first time, he felt what it was like to be truly in love. Their relationship blossomed quickly. Ethan as Ethan. I opened my heart completely to Rachel. I shared my deepest secrets and vulnerabilities. But as their sophomore year began, things started to change. Rachel became distant. Ethan, ever trusting, made excuses for her behavior. Ethan as Ethan. One crisp autumn evening, I decided to surprise Rachel with dinner. I arrived at her dorm room, flowers in hand. The door was slightly ajar. There was Rachel, in the arms of my best friend. After Rachel, Ethan's heart was fragile, but time passed and he slowly began to open up again. Enter Jessica. She was different from Rachel in every way. Ethan thought this meant she would be more loyal. He was wrong. Their relationship was intense but short-lived. Jessica struggled with her own demons. Ethan as Ethan. When she finally left me for her ex-boyfriend, I was devastated. But a part of me wasn't surprised. Still, Ethan's heart refused to give up entirely. He met Emily at work. She was smart, ambitious, and seemed to genuinely care for him. They dated for 2 years. Ethan even started to think about proposing. Emily's betrayal was perhaps the cruelest of all. Ethan as Ethan. The kind, trusting Ethan was gone. In his place stood a man hardened by betrayal and determined never to be hurt again. Ethan threw himself into his work. His dedication and intelligence quickly caught the attention of his superiors. Promotions came rapidly. Within a few years, Ethan had climbed the corporate ladder to a position of significant power and influence. His success brought him wealth and respect. But inside, he was hollow. Ethan as Ethan. As my professional life flourished, my personal life withered. I avoided meaningful relationships. Casual encounters were all I allowed myself. In the quiet moments, he felt the emptiness gnawing at him. If he couldn't find happiness, perhaps he could find satisfaction in revenge. The thought of making Rachel, Jessica, and Emily pay for their betrayals filled him with a twisted sense of purpose. Little did he know, this path would lead him to his greatest challenge yet. Ethan had become the very thing he once despised, and he didn't know how to stop. Ethan's plan was meticulous. He would use his wealth and influence to systematically destroy the lives of those who had hurt him. Ethan as Ethan. For Rachel, I orchestrated a series of business failures that left her financially ruined. I watched from afar as she struggled, feeling a cold satisfaction. Jessica was next. Ethan used his connections to ensure she lost her job and her reputation. Ethan as Ethan. I felt no remorse as I watched her world crumble. Emily's punishment was perhaps the cruelest. Ethan exposed her double life to both her husband and her workplace. Ethan as Ethan. Her marriage ended, she lost custody of her children, and her career was in shambles. As each act of revenge was completed, Ethan expected to feel relief. But with each victory, he felt more empty. The satisfaction was fleeting, always followed by a crushing sense of hollowness. With his revenge complete, Ethan found himself at a loss. He had dedicated years to this pursuit, and now it was over. The emptiness he felt was overwhelming. Ethan as Ethan. My nights were plagued by nightmares, my days by a gnawing sense of guilt. I tried to rationalize my actions. They had hurt me first. They deserved what they got. But deep down, I knew I had crossed a line. This realization hit him hard, leaving him feeling lost and adrift. On a rainy Tuesday afternoon, as Ethan was leaving his office, he quite literally ran into Grace. He didn't know it yet, but this chance encounter would change the course of his life forever. Grace was unlike anyone Ethan had ever met. She had a warmth about her that seemed to melt the icy walls he had built around his heart. Ethan, as Ethan. For the first time in years, I felt a genuine smile on my face. Despite his initial reservations, Ethan found himself drawn to Grace. She was kind, but not naive. Strong, but not hard. She had faced her own hardships in life, but instead of becoming bitter, she had chosen to remain open and loving. Ethan, as Ethan. As we began to spend more time together, I felt something I thought I had lost forever. Hope. Grace didn't push him to open up, but her presence made him want to. Slowly, he began to share parts of himself he had kept hidden for so long. Grace was showing him a different way to live, and Ethan was ready to learn. As Ethan's relationship with Grace deepened, he began to see the world through new eyes. The anger and bitterness that had driven him for so long began to feel like a heavy burden. Grace, as Grace. Ethan, you don't have to hold on to all that pain. Sometimes, letting go is the first step to healing. Grace never pushed him, but her own stories of forgiveness planted seeds in Ethan's mind. Ethan, as Ethan. Grace, I've been carrying this weight for so long. I don't know if I can just let it go. One night, after sharing more of his past with Grace, Ethan broke down. Years of pent-up emotion came pouring out. Grace held him as he cried, offering silent support. When the tears finally subsided, Ethan felt lighter. Ethan, as Ethan. Thank you, Grace. I don't know what I would do without you. In the days that followed, Ethan and Grace had many long conversations about forgiveness. Not just forgiving others, but forgiving oneself. Ethan realized that his actions, driven by pain and anger, had turned him into someone he didn't recognize. The path to redemption would be long, but with Grace by his side, he felt ready to take the first step. Ethan, as Ethan. I think I'm ready to make amends, Grace. Ethan's path to healing was not easy. There were days when the old anger threatened to resurface, but Grace was always there, a steady presence reminding him of the person he wanted to be. With her support, Ethan found the courage to face his past head-on. He decided to make amends for his acts of revenge. Ethan, as Ethan. I need to start with Rachel. I owe her that much. He started with Rachel. Using his resources, he quietly helped her rebuild her business. For Jessica, Ethan reached out to his contacts to help restore her reputation and find her new employment opportunities. Ethan, as Ethan. Jessica, I know I can't undo the past, but I hope this can be a new beginning for you. Emily's situation was the most complex. Ethan couldn't undo the exposure of her double life, but he could offer support. He set up a trust fund for her children's education and used his influence to help her find a fresh start in a new city. These actions didn't erase the past, but they were steps towards a better future for all involved. As Ethan worked to make amends for his past, his relationship with Grace continued to grow. She was his rock, offering unwavering support and love. Ethan, as Ethan. Grace, I'm so proud of the man you're becoming. Grace's influence extended beyond their relationship. She encouraged Ethan to reconnect with his parents, from whom he had grown distant during his years of anger and revenge. The reunion was emotional, filled with tears and long overdue conversations. Ethan's parents were overjoyed to see glimpses of the kind-hearted son they remembered. Inspired by Grace's own volunteer work, Ethan began to use his wealth and influence for good. He set up scholarships for underprivileged students and funded programs to help victims of domestic abuse. Ethan, as Ethan. Grace, I finally feel like I'm making a difference. As months turned into years, Ethan and Grace's bond deepened. They faced challenges together, supported each other's dreams, and built a life filled with love and mutual respect. Ethan, as Ethan. Grace, I can't imagine my life without you. Thank you for everything. On a warm summer evening, 5 years after their first meeting, Ethan proposed to Grace. It wasn't a grand, elaborate gesture, just the two of them on the beach at sunset. Ethan, as Ethan. Grace, will you marry me? As Grace said yes, tears of joy in her eyes, Ethan felt a sense of peace he had never known before. This was what true love felt like. Grace, as Grace. Yes, Ethan, 1,000 times yes. Their wedding was a celebration of not just their love, but of Ethan's journey. Rachel, Jessica, and Emily were there, not as close friends, but as symbols of forgiveness and growth. Ethan's parents beamed with pride, seeing their son truly happy at last. Grace's family embraced Ethan as one of their own. Ethan, as Ethan. Thank you all for being here. Your presence means the world to us. As they built their life together, Ethan and Grace faced challenges like any couple. but the foundation of trust, respect, and open communication they had built saw them through. Ethan had finally found what he had always been searching for: a love that lasts, built on trust, forgiveness, and unwavering commitment.